Alrighty, my friends, you're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. I have a very difficult subject to raise here. One that I have alluded to, oh boy, so many years in my broadcast life, but I've never actually devoted the time necessary to it. And I know that it will elicit passion from you, and that's not my intent, although I certainly don't prohibit your passion, believe me, but it's not my intent. And the issue is unconditional love, which is a belief that I would say the great majority of Americans have, from the right and from the left, in somewhat different ways. The religious tend to believe and hold very strongly that God has unconditional love for humans, that no matter how we act, God will love us the same. And others have, and this doesn't follow generally a political bent, but others have, all I was saying is that it runs across these political and religious spectrums. And others will have the belief that we should have unconditional love for human beings, that is the ideal, and certainly the ideal, let us say, within the family. Unconditional love for our children, unconditional love for our spouse. I have grappled with this subject ever since I first heard the term, and I have never been, and I hate to use this term because it sounds so subjective and just so feely, touchy, emotional, but I've not been intellectually, I would not say emotionally, but I've not been intellectually comfortable with the notion of unconditional love. I believe that that a little child should feel that, but and certainly have offered it. But beyond that, I don't think adults should seek or believe in unconditional love from any other human or from God. And I'm wondering where the idea developed that no matter how we act, we will be loved. Why? Those of you who believe in it, I bet most of you do believe in some form of unconditional love for adults. I'm talking for adults. Why do you think that it is a good idea? And I mean it sincerely. I'm not arguing with you. I'm asking why. What benefit does it have? Do you really think it is a better thing for people to walk around thinking that no matter how they act, no matter how selfishly, how viciously, how mean-spirited, that they are loved by another person or even by God? I'm a big believer in earning love. And I don't know why that's a bad thing. 1-8-PRAGER 776 1-8-PRAGER 776. Why? What's wrong with that? Well, isn't it a blank check for people to act meanly or towards other people? Yes, no matter how you treat me or no matter how you treat others, I will still love you. Oh, then what's to stop me? If I get the same reaction anyway, what difference does it make? Yep, God has the same exact reaction to you who work so hard to try to lead a decent life as he does toward people who just are vicious towards other people their whole life. Because God is a love machine. Whether God or a human, I don't understand it. And I know a lot of you believe in it, but I need you to argue with me or make your case, and I'm prepared to be changed on this. I don't It's not well, it is a conviction that I hold, but I am prepared, very much so, to have my mind changed. But it is so common, it is so ubiquitous in our culture to hear about the great ideal of unconditional love that I just finally decided, okay, let's take the bull by the horns here and really ask the question, what's so good about it? Now, I understand it in regard to children, especially little children. They need the security of knowing that mommy, daddy, or whomever loves you, and that love is bedrock. But what does it mean to grow up? Isn't one of the aspects of growing up and becoming an adult acknowledging that how we act does in fact impact the way in which we're regarded? So let's see what you folks have to say on this. 1-8-Prager-776, and I'm challenging it on both the human level and those who have it as a theological tenet. And we begin with Scott in Flower Mound, Texas. Hello, Scott. Dennis Prager.
Dennis, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
You're, in my estimation, and understand I'm speaking as a Christian, you're confusing love, God's love, and reconciliation with God. You can be loved by God. Tukey Williams was loved by God. Tukey Williams was not reconciled with God, at least based on everything I know to be true about the man. He didn't repent of his crime.
Okay, so let's just talk about, I understand what you mean by reconciled, and we both agree on that. So let's talk about the love. You feel that God has the identical love. There is no difference no matter how you act. It is irrelevant to God how you act in regard to his love for you.
Yes, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe.
Well, what does it mean, though? What I want to know is, what does that mean, though? Because we both believe that God will punish you, right?
Right.
So it's a loving punishment.
Well, there's punishment, and then there's correction. I'm a better parent when I seek to correct the course of my child versus punish my child. God believes the same thing as he deals with each of us on a daily basis.
Yeah, but for most people who do evil are not corrected in this life by God. They're either punished in the next life or nothing happens.
Well, right, but I mean,
so don't use the correction analogy, because a parent correcting a child is happening in this life.
Right, and let's face, but the problem with your analogy is look at all the people who are intrinsically evil in this world who go completely unpunished.
That's correct.
They suffer no punishment.
That's correct. It's not my problem. Yeah, so therefore, why is that? I know that. That bothers me a great deal.
Right.
But that's a separate issue. You see, it's very easy to get sidetracked here, and I appreciate your call very much, Scott. I just want to understand, what benefit is there in believing that no matter how you act, or no matter how another acts, the same exact amount of love will come. It is literally unconditional. What gain is there? Is there a gain in friendship? Would you like to tell your friend the following: I love you so much that no matter how you act toward me, I'm going to remain your friend. You can never keep any appointments with me. You can badmouth me to others, but I will continue to love you the same. Or say that to a spouse. It doesn't matter. You can mistreat me. You can beat me. You can cheat on me regularly. I'm going to just love you no matter what. I don't need, what is the point of that? What does it gain us? I think it cheapens love, frankly. As I say, I'm a big believer in earning. Not children. I told you that, so we're leaving that out. But we're not children when we're adults, or we're not supposed to be. 1-8-PRAGER-776. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. All right, my friends, you're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. I must tell you that I've waited so many years to finally address this because I so have felt out of step with my society, religious and secular, in that I don't believe in unconditional love. I don't think it's a healthy belief, and I think it's an amoral. I don't think. I know it's an amoral belief. No matter how you act, you will still be loved the same by God and by your friends, your spouse. Why should that be? For those of you who think that it's biblical, I'll just give you a few examples here. Psalm 5 verses 4 to 6 has you hate all who do wrong. And Psalm 11, the wicked and those who love violence, his soul hates. Proverbs 6, God hates a false witness who utters lies and one who spreads strife among brothers. Hosea 9, all their evil is at Gilgal. Indeed, I came to hate them there. Because of the wickedness of their deeds, I will drive them out of my house. I will love them no more. Leviticus 21, you must not live according to the customs of the nations I am going to drive out before you, because they did all these things. I abhorred them. Not just the sinner, not just the sin, the sinners. He even says I should have you folks define unconditional love because she finds your definitions are very interesting. I don't think the concept, which is, I don't even know when it developed as I'd love to know the term unconditional love, when it became a fashionable term. But again, I don't see what's good about it. All righty, and let's go to some of your calls here. And in Tucson, it's Lauren. Hello, Lauren. Dennis Prager.
Hi, Dennis. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Well, my thought in listening to you, and I am also a Christian, is that I think that there in general is a lot of confusion between having good feelings for other people, or in God's case, being happy with our choices that we make, and loving somebody unconditionally, which I think is more of an action than a feeling.
It's more an action than a feeling, what, unconditional love is?
Correct, right. And my view of it is that basically God has unconditional love for us, which I think also in turn means forgiveness.
Yeah, but the forgiveness is earned.
Correct. And the unconditional love, I think, leaves the door open for us to repent and therefore receive God's forgiveness.
Yeah, but it's not. No, I don't understand why that follows. God, we can get back into God's good graces, as it were, by changing our ways and by repenting, or whatever any given religion demands that a person affirm. But if we don't do that, then we're not in God's good grace. Why does it imply that he still loves you? I mean, especially in the light of what I just read to you from, it's the God of the Bible that you're talking about, that the Bible claims that God does. You hate all who do wrong. Psalm 5.
Correct. And I think, too, I think there's a difference between, this really is a Christian view, between what we do and who we are in God's eyes. And The same thing.
All right, let's move away from God for a moment. Do you agree with me about humans? That adults should never we should not use that term with adults?
I think it's a lofty goal.
You do?
I think...
Why is it a lofty goal? Let us say a woman is beaten repeatedly by her husband.
Yes.
And he molests the children. Should she have unconditional love for him?
I think that unconditional love does not mean that you have to be in a relationship with someone.
Then what does it mean? What does it mean then?
I think that you can have unconditional love, wanting the best for them, hoping that they'll get help, but also not...
How about hoping they'll get punished? Can you hope they'll get punished?
Oh, of course, yes.
So I unconditionally love you and hope that you get punished.
Yes.
Okay, then you know what?
The unconditional love is always is hoping that someone is going to rise up to the best that they can be. It doesn't mean that we can be in relationship with someone who is hurting us or abusing us or treating us badly, but that even if we separate and we come out of relationship away from that person, that, we can pray for them, we can love them as a child of God and, hope that they can be reached and get help and be restored. But that's what I think love is. I don't think love is like a feeling.
Okay,
or,
that's the problem, though. I think
I have to stay here and take abuse.
Yeah, I see. That's all right. You're very articulate, and I thank you. You see, that's maybe the problem here is the word love, because we all have an association with the word, and it's that association that I'm using here. Once it becomes a larger term that I hope that you rise to the best you can be or whatever it is, well, I mean, my hope is that Saddam Hussein is executed. Do I love him? If you read what he has done to people, he had human beings put into shredding machines, acid baths, had rape rooms. What is it exactly, what is my love for Saddam Hussein supposed to consist of? And you see, there's another problem with the use of the word love here. And that is, can you love somebody more than someone else? But presumably not. Then that's not good. Can I love Mother Teresa more than I love Saddam Hussein? Or you say, well, then if the issue there isn't love, it's admiration. Since when is admiration not part of love? See, this is my worry about this. Love then becomes a term. Maybe we should use something else, unconditional concern for. Okay, I'll live with that. But once we use the term love, and I don't know where it developed, that's the point I'm making. I don't know where this concept unconditional love ever was developed. It doesn't have ancient roots. It doesn't have biblical roots. I don't understand. Where does it come from? Because I think it cheapens the word love, because love must contain within it a moral element. It must contain an admiration and respect element. I have utter disrespect for you, but God, I love you. How about I have deep concern for you as a creature of God? That's fine. I can live with that. That's wonderful. I am challenging a very widespread belief, and that is that an unconditional love is a virtue, that is something we should aim for, and that it is a good thing in this world. And I don't agree, because then I don't understand what love means, or love is then it's either made so large that it encompasses anything, or so small that, it doesn't have respect, it doesn't have admiration, it doesn't have morality, it doesn't have decency. It has none of those components, but still that's love. So I don't know where in the life of an adult it's valuable, either vis-a-vis God. Now, you see, I don't believe the other extreme either, please don't get me wrong on the God issue, that I think that as soon as you sin, God hates you. I have no notion of that whatsoever. God is merciful and loving. I believe that as I believe that I am speaking into a microphone now. I am certain of that. But there can be a level, and I know this bothers some theologically, but I've talked about this on a number of occasions. I believe in gradations of sin. Not all are equal, including in God's eyes. I don't think God regards rape and murder of a child to be the same as you're taking a paper clip from the office. And I'm against taking paper clips from the office as it happens. But adults, I think adults need to be adults and need to understand that in our relationships there can be things we do. I mean, a man can so mistreat a woman that she does stop loving him. Or you'll say, well, she still loves him, but she can't live with him. Okay. I don't know exactly what that means either. I mean, it's possible. Of course that's possible. But is my ideal to love Saddam Hussein as much as I love, how about my children? Is that the ideal? After all, the closest we come to unconditional love is for our children. We all know that. All right? So if we are to aspire to unconditional love, then am I to aspire to feeling towards Saddam Hussein as I do toward my children? And these are open questions. I just may be wrong here. Okay, let's take some more of your calls. Oklahoma City and Tom. Hello, Tom. Dennis Prager.
Hi, Dennis. Tom
Hi.
Furlong. You're kind of touching on so many different areas. It's hard to nail down these things. But first of all, you as a bastion of logic realize that you first have to define what we're talking about. And I was very happy to hear you use the word act. And I want you to completely divorce any feelings from this activity of love. Unconditional love is basically me acting toward you in any way that will edify or uplift you. And if you've been beating your wife and your kids and committing all kinds of evil, one of the most loving things I can do for you is to turn you into the authorities.
Do you believe in capital punishment for murder?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do I. Do you believe that the most loving thing you could do for a murderer is execute him?
I do. If it is so found by the authorities.
Yeah, obviously.
13 tells us that God is the founder of all authority, and He gives that to the state.
Okay. Let's not go on over there. Go on, but I just want to understand. You hold that even if I kill you, I am doing the most loving thing I can for you.
It can be a loving activity.
How? I believe it's a loving activity in that I believe...
do nothing else in my life except kill more people than to stop me by executing me is a loving activity.
Well, no, you could be stopped by life imprisonment.
Not necessarily. I might kill people in prison as well. I would also say to you, there's nothing new about the term agape or agapeo, as you well know from the Bible. It's not new, as you said. This is an old idea.
Well, yeah, no, the unconditional element is
That's
new.
what agapeo means.
Well, how do you deal with the verses that I cited? You hate all who do wrong from Psalms, for example.
I understand, and it says in Proverbs, there are 6 things the Lord hates.
That's correct. No, those are things, but this
stirs up dissension. But let me say, the Lord, His ways are so much higher than ours that there's ways that He can hate in our eyes, but He's still acting lovingly.
Oh, okay, Tom. I love you. I do. I don't know if it's unconditional, but I love you because it was a creative way of dealing with that verse. I appreciate it. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. Should adults aspire to unconditional love? It's not specifically a religious show, and I want people to call in on the issue of unconditional love now, putting God aside for this period of time. That's a separate discussion, and it's one that we've had now with a number of callers. I don't happen to believe in unconditional love, all right? And I don't. I think that the caller in Oklahoma said, Dennis, you have a logical mind, so you have to first start with a definition. Well, maybe that's true, but you see, once we define love in such a constricted manner, since nobody uses it quite that way in our language, maybe we need a better term. unconditional concern for, unconditional desire to see the person do better. I mean, there's a whole host of things, but unconditional love has been. I think it's not been healthy because I just don't believe adults should aspire to it. So I'm just going to thank Kurt in Chicago, and forgive me for not taking your call. And I'm going to tell Eva to do the same. That human to human, we should be yearning for unconditional love. Okay, we'll put God aside for the time being, and let's see what you have to say on that. And in Highland, California, is this Deanna or Dean?
Deanna.
Okay, so
Deanne.
How do you spell your name?
D-E-A-N-E. Deanne.
No wonder I was confused.
I know.
You poor thing. Okay, go ahead.
Oh gosh. First, I just want to say it's great to talk to you, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
I believe that God has an unconditional love for humanity. I unconditionally love humanity because we are created in His image. However, I just don't find anywhere in Scripture that says that we have to love somebody like Saddam. Saddam is killing God's humanity. Saddam is an enemy of God's humanity, of the creation that God created. I'm a Christian, so in Scripture it tells me that God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. He is the God of second chances. But when somebody is killing humanity and is so obviously an enemy of humanity, then that person's got to go.
Yep. Okay. I thank you so much, Deanna. Let's go to Alpine, California, and Patty. Hello, Patty. Dennis Prager.
Hi.
Hi.
I believe that there is a difference between unconditional love and making people responsible for what they do.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, like with my husband, he could say things or do things that, maybe hurt my feelings or, maybe aren't exactly the right things, and I could do the same thing to him. However, I feel like I unconditionally love him because that's why I married him. I was very careful.
Wait, why did you marry him?
Because I love him, he loves me, and
well, wait.
I keep wanting to keep God out of this, but
let us do that. Hold on, wait. Before that even, and I'm not arguing with you. This is very important, and I hear you exhaling, so I know you're a little nervous.
I'm at work, and I'm trying to. I'm sorry about that. Your screener said to calm down, but.
That's okay. I'm just identifying with you. I'm not criticizing any of his traits.
Oh, of course.
Okay. What if all those traits, he changes all those traits?
I would have to say that.
Let's say one of them was that he was an honest man, and then he begins to lie regularly.
Well, I would first of all pray for him.
Agreed.
And if he became somebody totally horrible, totally horrible, molested my kids, or
that's right,
started murdering people because he felt like it was fun, or
right, go on.
I would assume he was mentally ill, first of all, but I would also know that was the choice that I made when I married him, even though. That's why I totally disagree with people getting married before they know each other for long. Somebody will do that after you've known them for many, many years. I think you can get to know somebody.
Usually that is very true. Usually that is very right. And I think you're right. I think if your husband became all those things, he would end up, he was probably some mental damage, some damage to the brain had probably occurred. I think it's probably true. But I worry about people. Here's my worry, folks. My worry is, let's take friends, okay? Let's put it in a place that's even easier to deal with, perhaps. I hold friendships in very, very high esteem. I think that life without friends is terrible. And life with friends is the point at which that person can lose your friendship. Now, can you say, I still love the person, but we're not friends anymore? I guess one could, but what if they truly, in the deepest sense, betrayed you? See, here's my worry. My worry is not that you'll continue to love people who do bad to you. That's wonderful. I have no problem with that. I have the problem with people believing that no matter how they act, they'll continue to be loved. Whether it's by God or by a friend or by a spouse or by whatever. That's my worry, that you take people's love for granted. I shouldn't have waited this long in this hour to express my deepest concern, but here it is. That is what it is. I don't think that is constructive in human relations, to think that it doesn't matter how I act. I will continue to be loved just exactly the same, no matter how bad I get. That's my worry. I'm not asking you to stop loving anybody. I think I finally narrowed down my biggest problem with the term unconditional love. Hi, everybody. This is Dennis Prager, final segment of this hour on this subject. And that is, it may well be a very wonderful thing to aspire to, although it still stretches the term love, because I don't love Saddam Hussein. I don't want to love Saddam Hussein. I love good people. Why would I want to have the same emotion? And then you'll say, we caught you, Dennis. You are defining love as an emotion. No, I'm not. But it is certainly one aspect of love. And that's the reason that I think it's a difficult term to use, because when people say love, it always has an emotional, and not only emotional, but moral, and not only moral, but respect-based element to it. But if you have none of that, if you don't respect him, if he is completely immoral, what are you supposed to do now? But again, my biggest problem, forgetting Saddam Hussein, in daily life, I don't want you to walk around, I should not walk around thinking my friends or anybody else in my life will love me no matter how I act. It's not good. It's not good for me. It's not good for me. It's not good for the world. It's part of what I think becoming an adult is, that you understand that you're not free to act any way you want and still receive the same response from people. That's my worry. Jasper in Chicago says, unconditional love is an act of loving your enemy as you would have yourself loved by them. An example is feeding Saddam if he is hungry. I would feed him if he is hungry only when he is in court. If I could have starved him while he were president and stopped evil, I would have. Patty in California, unconditional love means that you love someone regardless of what they do, but I don't think you love everyone unconditionally. I'm with you. Dave in Baltimore, unconditional love is loving someone for who they are, not for what they can do for you. Yeah. Well, that has nothing to do with me. I love people who have done nothing for me. I think we would agree, but I'd have to take your call. I wish I could have. Kim in Las Vegas. Unconditional love is recognizing spiritual rather than behavioral being, and so on. You have to, and David in Pasadena. I thank you all for your calls. I think that adults need to know there are repercussions to the way we treat other people. That's being an adult.